Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to YORUBADE. If this is your first time on my channel, I appreciate you actually coming and checking out what I got going on. If you like this video and you like this content, then I recommend you check out my other videos. They're all about the same thing, just empowerment of Nigerians in the diaspora. And if you're just trying to, see something new, see some videos that are on topics that are not really talked about in our spaces, then check out my channel. You can also check out my blogs that I have. And you can also find me on Instagram, social media. So I have a guest with me today. Her name is Aisha. You want to say hi?
Hi.
Okay, so this is her first time on my channel. And, I just want to I like her perspective a lot. And I think she's a good person to really talk about the events that's going on right now. So a little bit about Aisha. She was born in Nigeria, correct? And
Correct.
then you moved over when you were 6 years old, born and raised in the DMV area. So for those that don't know, DC, Maryland, Virginia, so East Coast. Born and raised in the DMV area, and now you work as a scientific researcher.
Correct.
Okay, all right, so we got that. So the typical Nigerian, always a high achiever. So this is nothing new. This is just our standard. And okay, so let's get into it. Thank you for actually taking some time out this evening to talk with me, especially on camera. I know a lot of people don't like to talk on camera, but you're doing it, so you're doing great so far.
Thank you.
I've been seeing the protest and the response to the protest that's been going on, and encouraged me to really create this video. The news media, everyone is talking about the events that were happening in Nigeria. Early on in the week it seems like it's kind of starting to settle down. But I didn't want to talk about the specific events. There was the other side that I wanted to bring up. So Aisha, the first question I'm gonna, just ask you is, what were you most surprised about that was going on in Nigeria, and just everything that was happening? What just took you by surprise?
I was taken aback by all the protests that were going on. So I'm guilty of not following up on current events with everything goes on in Nigeria, like living here in the US. I really should. That's just my own ignorance of like not knowing about the current events. But then when I saw the protests going on in the States, and then I started seeing the videos going on in Lagos and in Lekki, I was like, whoa, this is a big deal. Like, we're like, people of our generation are like finally speaking up. So I was kind of surprised by the mass gathering that was going on and unification going on globally, honestly.
Okay, so you said you don't really keep up with current events. How familiar are you with Nigeria, even if it's not them like
I know the government is not good. I know there's a lot of corruption. I know there are people in power that probably should not be in power. And I know as a democracy, it's not treated as a democracy, as in the citizens are not taken care of and their voices are not heard. But that's what I know. I know corruption, like literally the bull thing, everyone, there's corruption. Corruption is everywhere. That's like the basic general that I know.
Is it your parents that tell you, or you yourself, just from what you see and what happened?
Honestly, it's my dad. My dad is really big into Nigerian politics and just like trying to better everything. He's a Niger boy at heart. Like, he would want to go there, retire there, all that good stuff. So like, he gets frustrated with the government considering he's from the older generation. So I hear him and his friends talk about, wow, the corruption, this, corruption, that.
Okay. So we've had these conversations before, as far as just me being critical on you not knowing a lot about Nigeria, what's going on, and I'm gonna explain all of that just later on in this video. But first, I just wanted to talk about what I kept on seeing that started to concern me, and kind of explain why the trend of what I'm seeing isn't helping. So I just made some points, and I'm just going to go through every point. I'm going to say a brief explanation why I have it listed down. So the first thing that that caught my eye was the Pray for Nigeria post. Now, I remember when the George Floyd protest was going on, the Trayvon, all the protests that was going on here, I will see the same thing. It's always pray for this person, pray for this family, or when I think it was Paris when when the building collapsed or the
To
cathedral.
Notre Dame. Yeah.
Right. You know, pray for that. Well, I guess that's a little different, but I'm just focusing on anything that deals with Black people.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I see a lot of that, and it kind of gives a sense to me that that's the most that they can do. That's the most that people feel that they can do. And it's a bit concerning because I've seen this happen before when it came to protests, and everyone gets super emotional, and they have the post, and it just says pray, and that's like it. And then you see a lot of people comment and put the fist up and all this other stuff, and it's just like okay, I'm seeing a trend. The second thing is that I noticed that follows the post is the hashtagging. So the number one hashtag that I was seeing was NSARS, hashtag NSARS, etc. And once again, George Floyd comes to mind because you know everyone was hashtagging George Floyd. The whole world knew who he was. And at the end of the day, after everything that was said and done, his killer is actually walking around free right now. And it's like, okay, so the hashtagging, the post, the awareness was there, but at the end of the day, what did it accomplish? So three, the petition. So I did see petitions for the president, Buhari, to resign. Um, I don't know what the petition is going to do. This is essentially a dictator in the way he's operating. What is a petition going to do? Nothing. I saw petitions for him to be charged by the ICC, the International Criminal Court system for crimes against humanity. Um, there was a video that talked about this lady was interviewing a news contributor in the US, and it was talking about Nigeria, what's going on in Nigeria. And this dude flat, you know, just bluntly said the reason why the US isn't doing anything because it's just not high priority. It's West African people, countries or whatever having these issues. It's not high priority. So when I'm seeing the protests of or the petitions to have him charged for crimes against humanity to the ICC, in my head I'm thinking, okay, why are you looking at your enemy to do something that is supposed to be right? Like to me in my head, it falls into that paternalistic approach of we can't solve our own problems. We have to look at white people to solve our problems because we can't do it ourselves. We're incapable of doing it. And then I saw another petition, or really, it was talking about the genocide that happened at the Lekki toll gate, and um, so it wasn't a genocide. And just being respectful, I think people need to look up what a genocide actually is. You can say it's a massacre. Let's go with that. I think they were saying the numbers around like less than 80 people were killed, maybe it's a little bit more, but you can say it's a massacre. It wasn't a genocide. So I think, you know, if you're gonna put this information out there, let's try to be as accurate as possible. So that was the third point. The fourth, crying and being emotional on social media. Now, this is a little bit tricky. I understand emotions are flared and things of that nature, but um, I'm just going off of what I've seen in the past with protests where it like stops there for a lot of people. They'll go on, they'll yell, they'll shout, they'll scream, and then it's like quiet, and then it goes back to business as usual. And it's like I said, it's just a trend that I keep seeing with these protests when um, you know, like crimes, you know, I guess against humanity, or when these type of situations happen, whether it be police brutality or a fierce dictator or whatever, it's just killing people, you know, indiscriminatory. I just seen this so many times. And the fourth one was demanding change from the Nigerian government. And I was seeing people write this stuff out. And, you know, I understand, once again, I understand everyone's emotional, but in my head, when I'm really critically thinking about what they're writing, how can you demand change from a government that just showed you that they don't give a damn about you? They just shot up a whole bunch of people, and they continue to lie about it. I mean, at first they were saying, oh, no one died. come on. I mean, there was video everywhere, and then they try to say the video was doctored, and it's just like, these are the people that you're trying to demand change from. It's not going to happen. You have to do it a different way. So, so these are it's just what I'm seeing from this situation. It's just a trend that I've seen in the past, and I just want to make a note of it, of what, you know, why I feel concerned, because I've seen what happens in the end. So now I'm asking you, with what I just noted, do you feel I'm being dismissive and insensitive?
Yes, on a few points, I do. Okay. As far as the hashtags, as far as the hashtag and petition, that's all to raise awareness. I feel like from your point, you're saying, okay, what's the next step after raising awareness? But in order to get to that next step, we need to have awareness first. And everything's on social media now, everything's escalated. So if you can get more people posting the hashtag, posting the videos, and getting the right news out there, then it can just get the right information out. Because as you know, like you said, there were doctoring stuff, there's whatever they're saying, by they, I mean the government, we know it's not believable. So at this point, we have to listen to people who are there on the forefront, people who actually caught this stuff on record and can post it. And then the whole crying and emotional and praying thing, I think we can't be there and say how people should express themselves. Some people honestly feel like them saying prayers for this, they don't have any ill intent saying that. They're just saying, man, this is a really messed up situation. I like you're in my prayers. Like, my thoughts are to you, my thoughts are to your country and all that. And if that's all they can do, I'm okay with that. Like, I'm not expecting them to then, like, especially the Black, like the African Americans here, like the fact that they're even like doing the hashtags or saying prayers for us, it's great. I don't expect them, since they're not Nigerian, to then go and do anything else. Like, that's just putting so much on their shoulders that they don't need to. And then the whole thing about the, I guess you would say, colonizers' involvement, when you said there was a petition for Buhari to be charged for, I guess, crimes against humanity. So that one is tricky. I understand your concept saying, why would you go, like, the paternal instincts to go to people who colonized us, who weaponized us against each other. But then if we don't have the authority within our own nation because we're so messed up, I don't see the problem of reaching out to a higher up authority to then help us remove this entity. Like, I personally don't see the issue there, like the correlation there. The whole massacre at the Lucky Tollgate, yeah, that was really messed up. That was actually kind of crazy. Only because I don't know why you would like pull out weapons on people who aren't armed, but that's different. But I do understand your point about terminology. You're right, it's not a genocide. I haven't seen anything on social media calling it a genocide. And if it is, that's false information. That's escalating what it is. And you're right, massacre would be more appropriate terminology for that. But it's not a genocide. And that's all I have to say for right now. But I do agree. No, I don't agree with how you feel about the whole protesting. I think protesting is a great form of getting our message across. Like, I don't know how to take over a government. Like, I don't know any of that, how to overtake something or how to ensue reform and change and stuff. But we're demanding for change. Who else are we going to demand it from, except for people in power right now? We currently don't have any use in power, but right now, plan A is just, let's ask who's in power right now and see where it goes.
Okay, so just bringing it back to the protests. So I'm not saying that protests are just a waste of time. What I'm trying to point to is, only doing protests doesn't accomplish anything, because then I can point to the George Floyd situation, where all that protests, all that burning down the buildings, all the mayhem that happened, all the shutdowns, the killers are still walking free. And the whole world was watching. And at the end of the day, you still didn't accomplish your goal. You didn't get any laws changed, or not you specifically, but I'm just saying in general. The protests didn't accomplish anything. You can say the same thing that happened to Tamir Rice when he was gunned down. There was a lot of protests. There was a lot of hashtagging. There was a lot of what we're seeing right now, and still nothing changed. The people didn't have the power to make these corrections. So what I'm saying is, the trend I'm seeing is, you just reacting to the situation, not really thinking about, okay, how we're going to achieve our outcome, what steps do we need to take, is going to be a detriment. And essentially it just ends up being, okay, we made a lot of noise, people knew about it, but then their attention shifted to something else that makes them more happy. And that's just my spiel on what I see going on. It's not like I didn't want to just not necessarily make fun, but chastise people that was showing their emotion. What I'm saying is, okay, after the emotion, action needs to come up. There needs to be a follow up. Basically, I don't see the follow up. How are you going to make these people do what you want them to do? It's not going to be protest. It's never shown that it's just protest. Yeah, there has to be sacrifice, but what's your next, plan of action? It can't just be making noise because it doesn't work. And history has shown that it doesn't work, specifically when it comes to Black people. So that's just what I want to say. But I can probably, the way I'm saying it is harsh, but this is just what I've observed from these multiple protests that keep on happening. Is really my experience in the U.S. and seeing what happened with all these police shootings and everything that goes on with that. What happens afterwards? Their killers are never brought to justice, and people forget about it. Some type of entertainment piece comes up, and then you have the next situation, people protest, and then, destruction, looting, or whatever, and then it starts to die down, and then the next event happens, and it just keeps on continuing. I'm just like, you know what, we got to break this damn cycle because we're not getting anywhere. Especially when this is happening in Nigeria, and the playing field is vastly different. I'm not feeling the way the trend is going. But I guess I want to ask you this: what do you suggest is a better way to convince and encourage someone like yourself to do more than just being social online?
I mean, I honestly think social, from my standpoint, I just feel being over here and not being over there, I just always feel like social, you always equal awareness. So I feel like that's always important. But I think it's an also important thing with our generations where don't do enough research. So me personally, haven't posted enough on my social media regarding the topic, but I did go sit down and like try to learn research about what SARS is, why it started, why all of a sudden now this is another second wave of protests going on. Because like you said, there was a protest a few years back, and to your point, they protested and then nothing happened. They said the same thing. They're gonna disband the whole thing. So I think for us, I think you just need to do more research. But it might be my ignorance, but I know everything takes time. What is the next step after protest? How is it? I think protest is enough to get our point across, because I don't know, I just feel like you protest enough and then the leaders will like fall under pressure, especially if they see that it's coming from a global avenue. It's not just like, oh, the Nigerians here are just protesting. If they see that everyone, all the world leaders are like, yo, this is messed up what you're doing, like you need to do something, they might be more open to listen to change and like elect younger people to be part of the government. Because I think that's the problem. It's just like there's old people there who are stuck in their ways and they're not willing to budge or change their position.
Okay. I think one thing, uh, just people in your category that don't know much about Nigeria and seeing the protests and stuff like that, is to study history, and so that you can see okay, so history, always repeats itself. I think it will be good to see when were people only doing protests and change was enacted, and see the situation, how they went about it, what's different, what worked, even in current times, just knowing, okay, what have people done in the past, what worked, what didn't work. And then you can at least have a baseline of, okay, well, we know it seems like if from the past, a lot of people did this and they were able to get certain results. Maybe if we switch the way we do things, then we can get farther than just doing the same old protests and putting our fist in the air and going home at the end of the day. So I will say, okay, so I'm very skeptical of Nigerians in the diaspora, and we've had these conversations before when it comes to all the social media and everything I was talking about before the protest. And I made some points of why I am skeptical of Nigerians in the diaspora all of a sudden showing concern about Nigeria. I'm just going to list them down. I'm going to give a brief explanation, like I did before, of why I'm skeptical of Nigerians in the diaspora. So specifically in the U.S., because that's my experience. The first one, the attitude during the Nigerian independence. Now, I believe I talked to you about this.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so Nigeria's independence is October 1st. October 1st, SARS was already shooting people, killing people. They've been doing this for years, but really in the summer when the whole COVID situation happened and they started doing the lockdowns, people couldn't stay in their house all day. I mean, it's not like America. They wasn't getting the food. They wasn't making money. They had to go out. This gave police and army more opportunities to harass people. So they started having an even heavier hand, and then they just started shooting people, or you have one army officer shoot someone, kill them, or police officers, they were shooting people, extorting, and all this other stuff. All this was happening before October 1st and October 1st. This was happening. When I go on my social media, a lot of the Nigerians that I follow, they were talking about the next party. They was talking about raising the flag. They was talking about, oh yeah, a jollof rice is gonna be killing it again. All this Nigerian pride, and no mention of the situation that's going back home. Now, I had a direct experience with Nigerians independence in Nigeria. This was probably like 3 years ago, where I was in Ibadan, and I was there on Nigerians Independence Day, and I will tell you that nobody was celebrating. And I did interviews with the people there, and I was just talking to them. I was like, hey, what are you gonna do for Nigerians independence? And it was like, well, what are we celebrating? Look at the environment that we're at. We're suffering over here. We have to deal with the BS from the government. They lied to us. They don't hold up their end of the bargain. What exactly are we celebrating? And this is my first-hand experience of what I was saying. I was like, oh snap! Like there weren't people in the streets. You'll see them in Abuja, the capital, and right in front of that's where the president lives, and it's all for show, and they'll put that on TV. But the common people, the general people, we're not celebrating because they're like, well, we're not getting what we asked for. So now bring it back to October 1st here, it's a whole different scene. People are celebrating, people are partying, people are drinking, people are going to the clubs or whatever, as if it's Jubilee in the air in Nigeria. And so I saw one post that it was something like, if my Nigerian pride offends you, then I don't care, something like that. And I responded to that post saying, this is not the time to celebrate. We are in a dire situation. Nigeria is in a dire situation. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of raping of children going on right now, October 1st, in Nigeria. Why are you acting like everything is great and everything is improving? There is no improvement. If you really look at what's going on, there's no improvement. So what I said in my response was, I just want Nigerians to know what specifically about Nigeria they are celebrating, not just the name and not just the culture. What specifically are you celebrating with Nigeria being older? Because when the country gets older, you expect progress. What progress are you celebrating? And I had someone comment, they said their stuff, and it was basically just a typical, well, we don't know, what are you doing to spread awareness and stuff like that. And all she had to do was just look at my IG channel and look at my YouTube channel and look at my blogs and see that I've been talking about solutions this whole time. It's up to the individual to actually want to seek that information. If they don't want to seek the information, they will never know. And therefore, what's the point in even telling you? Because it's not a priority to you. So that's the first thing I experienced. The signs of Boko Haram developments in the Northeast. Nigeria. Now, I've talked to you about this, and I think a lot of Nigerians in the diaspora, at least in the US, think that Boko Haram ended with the whole Bring Back Our Girls campaign. No one ever talked about it after that. It was just never, it wasn't mentioned like that. So my thing, yeah, so my thing is, what if you were so big on the Bring Back Our Girls when Michelle Obama had the post up with the hashtag and everything going on, everyone was feeling it. This was a global thing. Remember, you brought up global before, and you said the awareness is really important. It was a global thing, and all of a sudden, what happened? I think they got out of office, or Michelle Obama stopped talking about it, and then it just all subsided, and then it got quiet again. It didn't stop. It actually kept on ramping up. Even now, like, I mean, it's horrible what's going on in the Northeast, and I don't see any mention talking about it. Once again, on October 1st, people are just celebrating like it's not a care in the world. One of the things that just makes me skeptical of Nigerians in the diaspora, the nationwide flooding that's been going on for the past few years in Nigeria. Whole towns being washed away, people dying, people drowning, just from the massive floods that keep occurring in Nigeria. Desertification is really going rampant. It's doing a lot of damage, and no one is talking about that. I don't see any post that talks about, hey, you know what, we need to come together. We got so many brilliant minds in our community. Maybe we can assist a private organization. No, I ain't saying government, but maybe a private organization that really cares about Nigeria that's on the ground right now. Is there anything we can? I don't see any of those posts. I don't see any care from the Nigerians that claim that they love Nigeria so much. A more recent thing is the oil subsidiaries that are being taken away, increasing fuel prices. This was like during the summer and all because of COVID. The government stopped paying, trying to subsidize the fuel prices. Prices went up, including food prices. Everything went up, and it's just like they just leave people there to fend for themselves. The Nigerian government. I didn't see any posts, any talks. Like maybe one, but really silence. Silence. Everyone was talking about Meg Thee Stallion and any other pop culture thing that's going on. The versus battles. Everybody was so focused on the versus battles while all this is going on in Nigeria, and it's just like, okay, got you. And then the last thing, the Fulani herdsmen. When it was really going crazy, I saw some posts, but it was kind of like, oh, once again, pray for Nigeria. And well, what eventually happened was, at least in the west side, the Yoruba side, they came up with their own security team, and it was like, no, we're not having it. And they started trying to protect themselves. But I mean, you still have some some events of Fulani herdsmen coming, killing people. I don't know where they get their guns. For some reason, all of them got guns, and they just shoot the farmers that are already on the land, and it just causes havoc. I'm not seeing anything online about that. Even when I have conversations with people, or when I used to go to these the social events before COVID, no one brings this stuff up. And it's not like I'm saying it should be in the forefront all the time, but when no one is mentioning anything like this, but they'll mention the buffoonery that goes on in our community. They'll mention the stuff that doesn't really matter in life. It makes me skeptical. So when I see events like this, like what was going on with the SARS, I'm like, okay, how dedicated are you really? If I mean, it takes this one time, you're glued to the screen, but because you're removed from it physically, it just goes down, and then you feel that, I guess, well, that's it. It's just on to the next trend. So those are my points that make me skeptical of Nigerians in the diaspora. So I'm going to ask you this question. When I talk about these things, what thoughts come to your head? And yeah, what thoughts come to your head when I mention these items that are going on or have been going on?
Well, I'll be the first to admit I didn't know about a lot of these items that you just listed. I mean, I do know because like I've had conversations with you about it, and like you're the one that keeps me updated. And then, like you said, I think it's all about awareness and perspective. If someone is engaged enough to go look up like let's say we have a conversation and you tell me about stuff like, oh wow, this I had no idea, then it's up to me to go and do further research on it if I'm interested in that. So I think that's the big thing. So if you're not interested, that doesn't mean you don't care. It's just like it's not something you're willing to like go and read about and know more research. Right now, people need highlight reels. That's what they need. No one, the days of researching, like let me go look and like read these long paragraphs, read all these articles, people aren't doing that. I love doing that. Like I'm gonna do that. But generally people are so used to getting highlight reels, highlight snippets, give me the footnotes of what's going on, and then I can go from there and like interpret how I feel. So, and the other thing, I feel like the whole reason this movement is so different is because we're impacted directly. Like I know people who go to Nigeria way more frequently than I do, and they've told me stories about how they've been stalked by SARS because of the way they dress or the way that they can tell they're from America or like the phones they have. So I think this has more power and has more legs only because, as you said, our generation feels so much more emotional connection to it, and they're feeling impacted even being here in the States because they're like, well, when I went back, like even last year, they'll say this and this happened. So I think, like, I understand what you're saying, oh, what's going to happen after the protest, but I don't think it's just going to just die down, at least not from the Nigerians in the US. I don't think that's a thing that's going to happen just because they know this is a personal thing for them. They've been affected by it personally. The whole current events thing, that's just like anyone here in the US. People don't like politics. They're not going to research on politics. People don't like Black Lives Matter movements. They're not going to go research and like learn about what happened to George Floyd or Breonna Taylor and all that stuff. If they don't see someone post about the highlight reels about what this happened, just happened, the timeline of this, they're not going to do their own research. They're not going to know what's going on with the judiciary system. They're just not going to know. So I don't know if it's for us to make it more tangible for them to go research it on their own or make the information there for them. But I think that's the main thing. It's not that we here don't care. It's just wherever surroundings you're in, you're so disconnected from it. I'm not in Nigeria right now. So the things I'm affected by are things that are impacting me here at the moment. So for me to go and learn about current events going on in that country, yeah, I'll do that. Like I can go read up on it and be like, oh man, that's messed up, but I've read up on it. What else do you want me to do besides that?
Okay. Do you ever feel like any type of guilt of not knowing these situations that are occurring?
I don't feel guilt about it. I wish I don't know if I say I feel guilty about it. I wish I knew more for sure. I don't think there's guilt because it doesn't take away from the fact that I'm still, to your point, you make it seem as if like it's wrong for us to have Nigerian pride even though we don't know about these situations. You can't take that away. Like I'm still proud to be a Nigerian. That's never going to go away from me. But as far as me going and looking up, and also I think the information is so hard to find too. I don't know, but this could be my ignorance as well. I don't know a platform where I can go to and be like, let me go get my daily news feeds about what's going on in Nigeria. And it's legit real news and not some like fake news that the government is spewing out to us. So that's ignorance on my part. Like I need to have a legitimized platform where I can go and be like, this is the details of what's going on right now in real time.
Okay. So let me ask you this off the top of your head. What do you think are some of the solutions just for Nigeria and what's going on?
Solutions to, like in general, what's going on?
Yeah, so all the this some of the issues that I was bringing up, what do you think are just general solutions for the country? Whether if you can do it or what you think they should be doing, like what are some solutions that you think should be implemented over there?
Well, I feel like the main thing right now is trying to just like the poverty there is just so grave. It's like ridiculous. That and education. I think there's like a lot of things that need to be done. As far as how to implement that, that's when I'm not afraid to ask for help, and like I'm not afraid to be like, how do we implement these changes? Because I'm not the one. I don't know. That's just not my arena. That's not anything I've ever been familiar with. So I've never be the one to shy away, be like, okay, this needs to be done. What's the next step? I'll ask for help, because I will tell you right now, I have no idea. I don't know what the next step is. I don't know how to approach that.
Okay. I'm just looking up two words that you brought up, because you mentioned not knowing about a country. You can still have pride for Nigeria, even if you don't know what's going on. So
Yeah, I feel like you're very critical about that. You're just like, you talk to Nigerians here, and like, I know you said Independence Day, the way they view it and how we view it is very different. And I don't, just because we like to like have a party here about it and like celebrate, oh yeah, you know, we've been free from the British for so long, that doesn't take away from the fact that like we still cared and we still know our country is impoverished and still needs help. But what's wrong with
I'm sorry, would you say like more patriotic to Nigeria?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to read the definition of patriotic. It's having or expressing devotion to and vigorous support for one's country. So it's one thing, I believe, to be prideful of being Nigerian. I think it's something to talk about when it comes to what are you actually doing to better Nigeria. How can you say you're patriotic when you don't inform yourself of that very country that you claim yourself to be patriotic? You don't know what's going on. That's where I'm getting hung up at. If you really are patriotic and you really are prideful, why wouldn't you know? Why wouldn't you want to know what's going on with your country? Is where I'm drawing the line. Either you're in or you're out. So I guess if you want to respond to that, how basically my question is, how can someone say they are patriotic to Nigeria, they're really prideful to be Nigeria, but they don't actually know what's going on inside Nigeria?
We're not saying we don't know what's going on. We don't know. Not everyone's going to know about the Fulani herdsmen, but people are going to know education sucks, poverty exists, there's corruption, it's hard to move up in anything, like the employment, there's no employment. So like the general basis of what makes a country or makes a democracy, we don't have those foundations. We know that. But you're here asking us to know these current, very specific current details. And for us to not know that, that doesn't take away from our patriotism. We know as a whole, the country's screwed up and that things need to be done to then rectify it.
Okay. You said things need to be done. Who's going to do these things?
The people, because obviously the government.
Who's the people? The government? The same government that we criticize. The same government that we say are incapable of doing any goodwill. So, and I'm saying this so we're really trying to break this down. We say, so you just said that the things need to change. The government is not doing what it needs to do. Okay, so who's gonna execute the change that needs to be done? The people. Okay, who are the people? The Nigerians there that are part of the government. If nothing is improving, how is change going to be done?
No, I feel like the main thing right now is the people that are in government now, they've been there forever. So isn't the next step now? I don't know how election works there. That's just my ignorance. I don't know how politics work there. Okay, but so why can't we just get there? So there are people our age, there are youths that are interested in politics. Why can't they start running for offices? And if it's an election, it's a voting system, they get into office. And we just need younger people with the same ideologies to be in the office, not people who have been there for so long and are stuck in their ways. So I think that, yeah, so it's going to be the government. Change the government that we have now. I'm not saying go to the current government, but if we can change the government that we have now, then it can help start implementing these changes.
Okay, so you're saying, so first you was talking about the Nigerians there, and now you're saying we can change the government over there. So
the Nigerians there.
Right. Well, okay, so it's not including the ones in the diaspora. Do you feel the Nigerians?
No, they can too. They want to go.
Okay.
Yeah. That's
okay. So my thing is, what ways do you feel Nigerians in the diaspora can help implement change in Nigeria?
Like from where they are now, or just.
So the Nigerians in the diaspora, in what way, whatever it is, in what way do you feel the Nigerians in the diaspora can help bring tangible change to the country of Nigeria?
By educating themselves, or they can go back there and then try to enlist these change, or if they have contacts over there. I don't think are you saying because we're here we can't help our country? Like, that's where I'm getting confused.
I'm not saying
Because
that. I'm asking because, okay, so you're now saying that, you know, going back and doing things. Okay, let's cool. Where's the trend in our people doing? Do you notice people doing that? So
no, but
I guess,
I'm guilty of that too. I don't go back.
well, what I'm saying is, we started with patriotism. We started with Nigerians abroad that still have the love of, you know, of Nigeria. We want to all see Nigeria do well. When I ask, okay, how can Nigeria make that change? You're saying the people there. The people there are the government. One thing I think we don't want to get too carried away with, because I mean, I had to think about it, is everyone's saying, okay, the youth, the youth, the youth. The youth are a product of the failed education system. A lot of them are not equipped to even run government over there. They're just not, and it's not their fault. It's the fault of, you know, the other ones that were in charge. So if a lot of them, a good bit of them, are not aware of how voting works, if they're not understanding of a certain level of being on code, on how to say, you know what, we don't need the corruption, I don't need to get paid or whatever, the nepotism or whatever. If they're not being trained properly on how to operate in a system that works, how are they going to be able to affect change?
But there are lots of youths that like I know personally that educate in the West and go back and try to
Oh,
instill
that's
change there.
different. I'm talking, so you specifically, you were saying the Nigerians there, the Nigerians that I'm assuming grew up there. And when we talk about the Nigerian youth, we're talking about the Nigerian youth that grew up there. If all they know is a failed system, how can we expect them to adequately run the government if these old guys get out of power and they come in next? Without any advisors, everyone is from Nigeria, grew up in Nigeria. This is all they know.
So what is your suggestion then?
Well, my suggestion is look at my other videos on my channel, and that was going to lead to my other point. Essentially, we are the solution to the problem in Nigeria. We can assist and we can help the Nigerians over there. Let's just say the youth over there, but it can't just be them on their own. We have the knowledge, we have the experience, we understand how it is to live in a system that operates for the most part efficiently and effectively. If we just continue to stay in this country or in other countries or Canada or whatever, UK, and only give lip service to what's going on in Nigeria, Nigeria will never change. And history has showed us it's not changing. It doesn't matter if, you know, who's in office. Of course, we see the same politicians in there. If we're not actually making a movement of bringing that intellectual capacity back there, reverse the brain drain, nothing is going to change. We can pontificate all the problems until infinity, nothing will change. We have to do something different. So, and I've said this before, I've said this several times, if we want Nigeria to change, it's resting on us Nigerians in the diaspora. It's not going to be other Black people. It has to be us first, because we have the cultural connection to Nigeria, and because, you know, we're already educating, all the other stuff that I said previously, that we are the solution. So that's what I'm saying. And of course, I have, if you look at my other videos on this channel, I've talked about these different ways that we can go about it. It's not just me. One of the guys that was running for Nigerian presidency the last term, name is Kingsley Magalu. Very intelligent person. Grew up. He was born in Nigeria. Then he was educated in the U.S., worked in the U.S., came back. He was part of the Nigerian bank in turning around the depression that was going on, very highly educated. The people didn't vote for him. The young people didn't vote for him. He didn't even get a ticket. So these are the same young people that we rely on to change the government.
Yeah, but they probably weren't given the information the right way. We know how they like skew media and everything like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, if you study the thought process, a lot of Nigerians over there, delayed gratification is poor in our culture over there. So I'm not for, let's just keep giving excuses on why they can't do something. I'm for, okay, this is what it is. This is what the trend is. This is what has been happening throughout history. We got it. Now we need to do something else. I don't want to hear any more excuses on why they don't know how to see why President Buhari is not a good choice. And it was also young people that voted him in. It wasn't just the people from the north. Unfortunately, it was a lot of people in the Yoruba land that say, okay, let's just give him another chance. There's a lot of people like that. So I'm just saying, if we want to see some real change, we're the solution. It's not going to be anybody else. It's going to be us. And until we realize that, until we're willing to sacrifice, until we're willing to really put aside, what we got going on and think about the future of our children, allowing them to, go back there and live there, the language, everything that's going on. If we're not going to maintain the culture ourselves, then it's going to be lost. And the only thing at the end of the day, I feel we can say is, okay, jollof rice came out of here. We can speak the pigeon a little bit or whatever, and that's essentially it. There is no power that's coming from it. The Horn of Africa that everyone wants to say ain't there. There's no progressive outlook for the country. If we're not going back, the product of our parents' generation that came to look for greener pastures, if we're not going back and reversing that brain drain, we cannot expect Nigeria to take off just with the youth that are there. So that's my thing. Any response to that?
I think you're underestimating that a lot of the youths there are youths that have like educated themselves in the West. I think that's what you're underestimating. I think you think a lot of the protesters there, granted, I don't know the percentage or anything, but a lot of them, because I know some people were protesting, there are people who actually like schooled in the UK and like schooled in the US. So like my whole thing is, yes, we need to go there, we need to help. Obviously, it's not enough to just help them financially and stuff, but how do we get that message across to help them? How do we start creating platforms to start giving them the resources to then better themselves to know about political reforms?
Well, I mean, and that's where it starts with the think tanks. Take time for those that are really serious. This is where, put the drinks down, shut off the TV, and you go meet with other, intelligent-minded Nigerians, and you don't need the music. You go in a room and you start thinking about solutions. There's other groups do this all the time throughout the world. Think groups of how can we solve these problems. This is where you plan your meetings annually, and not just talking about nonsense, not talking about charity, but you plan your meetings that actually can solve problems. That's where it starts. Everyone doesn't, I don't have all the answers, but I do know if we're not taking time to come up with solutions, and we're not, thinking like anytime, and I noticed this before, when it's a group of Nigerians, here in the DMV area, let's just say, what's that called? Afrochella. I noticed that you will see a whole bunch of, let's just say, Africans in one spot, hundreds of degrees probably in that one area. How many of us are actually networking? Or do we just come to party? Whenever we get together, from what I've seen, and just being real, it's always a party. It's never, or a lot of times it's not, hey, let's come up with solutions. Let's create this think tank. Like, this is my village. These are the people from my area. Let's come up with some solutions. Let's critically analyze what we can do. I don't see that. I don't hear about it. I got other friends that, Nigerians, they don't talk about, I never heard of anything like that. When they look at what I'm doing, they're like, okay, you're the only one I ever came across that is actually creating some type of platform that talks about these issues or solutions or business for doing business in West Africa. You're the only one. So it starts there. It starts, you gotta want to put in some work. If you're not willing, work ain't typing on social media and hashtagging people to death. It's not. It doesn't. There's no longevity in it. Work is going into these meetings and come up with other like-minded individuals and coming up with something that makes sense. And that's where the solutions start. And then that's where you start seeing, okay, this can work. Even if it fails the first time, we know that this doesn't work. Maybe if we can structure it in a different way, then okay, maybe we might get a little bit farther. It starts right there. That's how the solutions come into play. So I will say for those that are just watching, if you want to be useful in life, just in general, it starts with personal development, especially if you're trying to do something in Nigeria. You got to develop yourself. Success is, to me, it's not just getting degrees and landing a good job. It also depends on the contribution that you're making to the community that you love. If you're highly degreed, successful, and you're not contributing back to your community, essentially the community raises you up, and once you're up and you're doing well, you're not looking back and really trying to bring them, to another position than what they are. You look at them as, oh man, that's so sad. You pity them. Pity, just give them charity, give them money, give them some clothes, when it comes to holiday time. So if you're trying to be useful, and not just Nigeria, really anywhere in Africa, you got to develop yourself, and you got to understand that, hey, look, I'm not a success until I know I at least help like one person change their life so that they don't feel the need to go into prostitution, or they don't feel the need to get caught up in the slave trade and all the other unfortunate situations that we see our brothers and sisters in. Any last words from you?
No, I agree with the whole networking thing. I believe it's out there. I just don't, maybe we're just not looking hard enough. I can't for the DMV area. You're right. Like when I first met you, you are the only one I know who takes the content and, displays in the way that you do. But it's hard for me to believe that they're not like-minded people like you out there too, who also want to go help better. Not to say that I don't not to say that I don't want to go help or anything like that. Of course I would want to know. I just don't. I need to know more information. I need to do my own research, and that's what I've been trying to do. I think it's important. You said it's all about personal development. I've been taking that step to let me go research and know more about these things that's going on. So it is helpful. It is very informative. I have seen a few of your videos, and it's opened up some questions to me, and I'm just like, oh, that's an interesting perspective on this. It's interesting how we can go about try to better the country just in general. So I mean, I'll work on it.
Okay. Would you like to tell people how they can follow you if they're interested?
Yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. It's Aisha Lara on Instagram.
I'll put the link in the
yeah, you can go ahead and do that. So that would be cool. But you're right. I just feel like we should just all come together and try to. I love Nigeria. I love being Nigerian. I would never change that for anything in the world. And it's very heartbreaking what's going on. So I do hope that change does start. And I do know it takes time. That's the thing I feel like people don't understand, that they want to see everything happen overnight. But I do understand. That's one thing I do understand. It has to take time, and it has to be one step at a time. And we have to go in with a strategic plan. So that is what you've been saying. I totally agree with that 100%.
Okay. All right. Well, that's all I got. Appreciate everyone watching and taking time to really listen to what we're saying, even though we got a little bit of opposing views. We all want the same thing, which is a better Nigeria, a better West Africa, or better Africa. And yeah, we want to see our people do better. So yeah, so once again, check out my other videos on my channel. You can look at my blog, and you can follow me on my IG if you want more content. I appreciate y'all, and until the next video.